Hi, I'm Adam Dorrell, and I'm the host of the Account Experience podcast. If you're a regular at the AX podcast, you'll know that in every episode I like to catch up with inspiring industry leaders or thinkers. And they're here to talk about best practices and tips, but to pass on their knowledge to help you develop your B2B account experience program. Now, I've been in CX for about 20 years. I've been working on the technology to help improve B2B relationships. But I know at least half of any successful solution is culture change. How a company can become truly customer centric. So I love to talk to people who can fill in that part that maybe I'm not so great at filling in. And so my guest today is a passionate individual who thinks deeply about company culture, and she's a master at helping to shape it. And when she talks to me about the speeds of change, I just knew I had to have her as a guest. So today I'm speaking with Nienke Bloem. She's a globally recognized customer experience speaker and educator, and she's got CSP and CCXP qualifications. But she's dedicated to work with CX leaders and elevate their customer experience impact. And if you've seen her live or you've watched her videos, you'll know how contagious her energy is and practical experience that helps CX strategies work. I'm really looking forward to our talk today. So I'm going to make sure that I try and match her energy and bring it to the fore. Nienke, welcome to the podcast. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much, Adam. It's great. Yeah. Well, we're taping this at the end of the day, as you always tape this at Tuesdays at 5. So, and I still have energy. So that is a good thing. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. And I
Yeah.
looked on LinkedIn. I could see you and I have 200 LinkedIn connections in common. I don't know. I don't know of anybody else I have in my network that have that much
Yeah,
in.
you
That's quite
do. You
something.
do.
Hey, listen. First of all, why don't we just dive straight into it? You talk. Your slogan is "Spice up customer experience." So, what should be spiced up about customer experience?
For me, I'm going to be honest, I think it's about the leadership. So it's not that we want senior leads. No, I think the people that are listening to it, your audience, where can they spice up their leadership to really make sure that we have impact? And what I've seen in the last 10 years when I've been an entrepreneur in customer experience, I educate, I speak, is that we make a lot of plans. And I think we need to lead more, to take the lead, to have that good change narrative, to take time for strategy, to, well, discuss the status quo, to be the change, to
Yeah.
go to customers ourselves. There's so many elements, but I think it's about, so we talk a lot about customer experience management. That's our profession, but the way we implement it. Am I a true leader? Am I delivering the impact I want? Am I delivering upon the goals that I need to? And I think too many CX leaders or account executives or uh, everything that it's called, I think in the B2B, also often customer success.
Yeah.
I think we need to look in the mirror and see where can we spice up our leadership to get to results.
I like what you're saying. I often observe that people tend to get a bit obsessed with measuring and analyzing rather than actually putting things into action.
Yeah.
I wonder, and if we can get into this, maybe, I wonder if it's a bit of a trap that everybody has the best of intentions when they start out. We know what we need to do, we know what our mission is, and they somehow get derailed. Maybe they're not given enough power or they're not claiming it at the board. So
Yeah.
if we can get into that, I would love that. But first, Nienke, what's it like? What's a day in the life of Nienke Bloem like?
Well, I think today was, I have different kind of days, but let's just do today. This morning I had all kinds of meetings. Today is a client day on preparation in the morning. So I had client meetings. I had a preparation call for a customer experience game, train the trainer we're going to have. I had a preparation for an in-company masterclass that's coming up. And I had a check-in with one of my inner circle clients that I just was curious how she was doing. And this afternoon, I had my mastermind session. I have an 8-month intervision program where I help a small circle of CX leaders to spice up their leadership. So work on their authority, on their anecdote, their change narrative. So and today was the session on story, and then now we have a podcast, and I think that is
Well, I mean, it's
yeah,
continuing
and
telling the story, right?
yeah,
So,
and the honest truth is that I I woke up. I'm a very early bird, so I love going to bed early, but also waking up early. So I was at a 6 a.m. Pilates class, And then I didn't take my Pilates clothes off until like 11 because the rest of it could be just like put something over it. So it's just like, yeah, today was an office day. And I also have days like 3 weeks ago, I had a day where I was with a client in Singapore. And sometimes I'm at a 2 a day masterclass. So it can vary a lot. And I love that also about my work, that it's either speaking or education. And yeah.
Now, I've been following you for some time on the web. You really evangelize customer experience. We'll talk about the details a little bit in your
Yeah.
story, but how did you get into it? What was your route here to get to a CCXP master
Yeah.
and a well-renowned speaker around the world?
I think it's when I look back, I come from the island of Texel. That's where I grew up, and there's something that we call in Dutch. It's called the overkant, the other side. So
Mhm.
you live on Texel, and then you have the rest of the world, and we call the overkant the other side. And I've always been the girl that I knew I love to be on Texel, but I also love to get to the other side. And when I look at my career, I started in sales, B2B sales.
Yeah.
I've been both in telco and in insurance. Then I went to do a role in marketing. I was leading operations also in B2B on a pension department. Then I led 100 people in IT within the insurance company, and did my MBA on HR, where everybody was like, "What's she doing with her career?" And then I got asked at KPN, the Dutch incumbent telco, if I wanted to become responsible for CX, and by recruiter. And actually, the interesting thing is then, because everybody beforehand was like, "Nienke, what are you doing with your career? Or we don't really understand. You're moving around, but what are you
Yeah.
good at?"
Yeah.
And then when I was asked to be, I Googled it in 2011. What is customer experience? What is customer excellence? And I thought, well, it's sustainable change program with a customer centric mindset in hand. And I had to believe at that time there's only two sustainable change program, kind of like it's either customer centricity or employee experience, we would call it now.
Yeah.
Now I also believe that a purpose-driven one is one. So, but I thought, okay, that's nice, and that's how I started. So, 2012, I became responsible for CX at KPN.
Well,
Nine,
that's a big role. By the way, I love Tessels. It's really one of my
yeah.
favorite places to go. So,
Well,
so it's thanks for
there's
sharing
one
that.
day I'm gonna come back. Now I live on the other side, but I do know that I'm an island girl. So there's gonna be a day that I'll return. My mom still lives there, my brother, but yeah, I'm also a big fan.
Okay, so strong Dutch theme coming through. I'm
Yeah,
also speaking to you from up the road in Amsterdam here. KPN, incumbent telco,
yeah.
big company, also well known around the world. Let's talk through some of the lessons you learned there. I mean, you were working on customer experience for a huge organization. So what were some of the things that you learned, and were you able to put them into practice? Maybe they were also anti-lessons, things not to do.
Well, I think, yeah, just talking out of my and just thinking out loud. For me, I think one of the major lessons was that I needed a strategy. So I had a team of 12 in the context of about 9 million customers and 9,000 employees at the time. And so, what am I going to do to bring NPS from -14? And we had a goal to go to zero. And it's very interesting because I thought, what can be my strategy? And the normal thing to do is to hire a consultant. And the beginning of 2012, I had a little tour around consultancy firms. And to be honest, most of it was just full of shit, because I thought it's just business process redesign what you're talking about. This is not customer experience. And they all said, no, no, it's customer experience. I said, it's not. So I thought, I'm not going to spend any of my budget on this. And then I just sit together with some people and I created some visuals, and somehow we designed our own strategy. And I think for me, I have this philosophy. I had a team of 12, and there were like five people. They were like me. They were making the truth people,
Yeah.
and there were seven people that were finding the truth people, which was very interesting. And what I found is that when you have a role where nobody actually knows what we need to do, where we need to go, how to make this work, how to close the loop, whatever, you need people that are truth makers. Because if you're a truth seeker or truth finder, you go ask other people, what should the strategy be? Or, but no, you have to take position. You have to make a first draft. I think this should be it. And then check with others, get buy in, validate. But making that first strategy ourselves, which was actually really working across voice of the customer, so
Yeah.
listening to customers. I used it. I used the acronym LARA. So I said we need to be really curious, like curious. These little girls. She's like 3 years old. She's Lara. She has these big eyes. She asks, "Oh, you don't like how we answer the phone. So what would you like? Oh, you like to be more friendly. Oh, you don't want to call back because we cannot solve it. Oh, really? Oh, well, let me think about it. Of course, I'm going to create that." And I said, LARA is an acronym for listening, analyzing, reacting, and acting. And then reacting was the inner loop. So we need to really get back to customers when we've not solved their issues.
Mm.
And the bigger loop, we need to go friction hunt, we would call it now, but at that time. So I introduced Lara. So I said, we need to do the voice of the customer programs in all our operational channels. We're going to do brand delivery in the customer journey. So we're
Yeah.
going to look across the customer, and that's where 2 people, 8 people were doing the voice of the customer, and employee ambassadorship. And those were the 3 pillars of my strategy. And we've run through that, and it worked. And I think making the truth is something that a lot of CX leaders should do, because nobody else is going to help you. Or you can have a consultant make the truth. I think there's now many more brilliant ones, but it's not difficult to do it.
But that's actually not an expression I've heard before. So making the truth and truth seeking. So if I'm
Yeah.
playing this back to you, making the truth is going, look, we've got this hunch, so you're quite creative. You turn it into a story. Did I get that right? Is that?
Yeah, but you also have to make a strategy. So like there's the different, like, let me tell you the different, what it looks like when you're a truth maker or a truth seeker. So the truth seeker, if I would be a truth seeker, I would be going to all the directors of all the verticals, and I say, okay, when it comes to customer experience strategy, what do you think is important? And they would tell me things that they thought would be important. And the thing what would happen, it would get more difficult because everybody would be saying something. To be
Yeah.
honest, they had no clue. And they would just say something, because leaders often don't tell you that they don't know anything. So they
Yeah,
just
that's so true.
talk,
Yeah.
and you think it's the truth, and you think you should take it all into account. And that a truth finder gets so much further that you're like, oh, how am I going to go about? Truth seeker. So, and then you've got the truth maker, the waarheidmaker. What they do is they just make a strategy. They do a SWOT analysis. They take a strategy of whoever. They put like some pillars in, or make a house, or I don't know, or the 5 must-win battles, or you borrow mine strategy. Oh, it worked for Nienke. And then you say, well, what do you think if we do this? And then you go to these same people, instead of that you seek the truth, you say, I've got this starting point. If we would like this, what would work and what would not? And then suddenly you're also seen as a leader. You take position and you bring things forward. And I think that is something that I learned at KPN, that truth makers, especially when it comes to change, get further than truth seekers.
Nice.
Although when you are a voice of the customer specialist and you need to do data analysis, I hope you're a truth seeker, because that's all in your tooling. What customers are saying, you cannot create something different, right? But it's very interesting that this mindset and attitude, and you can learn it, but it's very interesting because we think other people know. But let's be honest, when it comes to customer-centric change, we need to be the experts.
Now, there was some things in that I just wanted to unpack. There was a lot of information there.
Okay.
It's almost like you're going too fast, Nienke.
Sorry,
Right?
yeah, fast and slow, huh?
Well, hold on, we'll get to that in a second. There was something I just want to pick up. Did you say friction hunting? Did I hear
Yeah.
that correctly? I love the learning new words. What is friction hunting?
Well, for me, when I look at the LARA construct, what I used in the acronym, one of the things I said, we need to listen. So we get to get all the customer feedback with our tooling, with our, everything we have. Then we analyze it, and then we react. So that's the inner loop. But we also need to act. We need to improve. If we got 100 customers that are calling back on a certain theme, we need to make sure that we get this friction out of our systems, communication. And I really love this term of friction hunting. And you can do it in a big way, because I know there are big programs. A colleague of mine at MultiChoice in South Africa, he created a huge project called #99, where he made friction hunting the core of his CX program. So this year, he said, we're going to get 99 issues out. So he didn't call it friction hunting or let's improve or no, he called it hashtag 99. And he just said, these are 99 problems we're going to fix.
I got
And
99 problems, but CX ain't one. That was his philosophy, something like that, right? Hey, but I love that. But by the way, taking friction out of a process is often results in a better customer experience. So
definitely.
it's a great couple of words that I'd never seen before, and I'm going to steal that from you.
Yeah, use it.
I
Use
really
it.
like it. But you you're a very fast thinker and a very good communicator on this. But I'm just going to slow you down a little bit because there are two speeds to change. I learned this
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah.
So talk us through the two speeds of change.
Yeah, I remember the first time this occurred to me is when I had an interview for another podcast that I interviewed Gene Cornfield of Accenture. And he told me about that some processes in customer experience and in IT change and other things, and I translated it to CX, are slow processes like thinking about the future state, designing a new strategy, getting stakeholders on board, all these kinds of things. So I really got into like, okay, and what are the elements? As soon as I interviewed him, I translated it to my own business. Like, what kind of work do I have that is taking slow change? So developing a method for closing the loop, making people, putting the governance down, all these kinds of things take time. You need to think about it. It goes slow because you need to engage people.
Yeah.
And when I translated, so I thought, but when you've got slow change, I also thought that is also fast change. So, and somehow it clicked in my mind because I love Italy. And my husband and I, every year we go to the Mille Emilia. And
Oh yeah,
that
you're
is,
a
it
big race
goes from
fan.
Brescia to Rome back.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful car race in the world. It's again in 2 weeks in June. And it's very interesting and it goes very fast and everybody loves it. It's those beautiful cars. Everybody takes pictures, is waving, the people are enjoying it. And it's just, everybody loves it. And then 3 years ago, I walked the Via Francigena. It's actually from Cambridge to Rome, but I walked the part in Italy. So from the Swiss border to Rome, 1,000 kilometers. And I also go to Rome. So I thought you go either with a car from Brescia to Rome, really fast,
Yeah.
but I'm walking. And I thought this walking, pilgrimaging, it's slow. You take it slow. Nobody's waving, nobody is clapping, but you have the time to think about the big topics in life. You get to the truth essence of what is important. And yes, you get praise once you get into Rome. And then people are like, wow, did you all do that? So the
Yeah.
result at the end, and everybody's really proud of you. And then I thought if I translate that to CX, this slow change is, I call it the strategic fundamental track. So it's these things that we need to do that we have to create strategy. We have to think about how much budget am I going to get? How am I going to do my stakeholder engagement? How am I going to think about methods? If I'm going to friction hunt, for example, and think about this program, let's take this hashtag 99. What do I need to do? What are steps? You need to take time to think that through, prepare. And then the fast agile track, that is, let's call it the mil milia, goes fast.
Yeah.
We also need to deliver change. So if we go friction hunt, we need to make sure that we do agile change management, that we improve in customer journeys. And that is actually the results of that are measured. What did we really improve? Why didn't customers have to call back? What kind of improvements did we do in our sales funnels that we have more sales or we have less churn? That is what you get applause for. That's results. And what I think for CX leaders could be very interesting to think about,
Yeah.
how much time and of my, first of all, what's my assignment actually? What's my role in the company? Am I much more, do I have strategic tactical roles or do I have more an operational technical role? And what kind of results do I need? And how much time do I spend in the slow strategic fundamental track? And how much time do I spend in the fast agile track? And I think it's a very interesting thought process.
I like it. Yeah, because the act of going slowly, the change comes from within, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's you're internalizing this. Can I relate that to my concept of closing the loop?
Yes,
Because
please.
I really I love what you're saying here, and I've not actually thought about the two speeds of change until you started talking about it. So first of all, thank you for sharing that. I think it's wonderful.
You're
But I
welcome.
have this concept of closing the loop. One is the big loop that we think
Yeah.
about. These are the strategic changes. You're right. They're slow. They take some
Yeah.
months to get through. It happens maybe over a year. Big projects, lots of people, take some time down the line to make a difference. The other thing which I think is ignored often by organizations is the fast loop, the inner loop, which is when you get a response from a customer and you get back to them within 24 hours or 48 hours and
Yeah.
say, hey, thank you for that feedback. I don't know if I can fix it now, but I really appreciate it. Maybe you can tell me a bit more about it. That is to me about building relationships. And so if I put it in your terms of fast and slow loop, does that fit? Does that kind of agile and
Yeah, it's really, I think, if you only work on well, I think first of all, a lot of people put these big projects up. What I've seen in B2B, for example, invoicing for a lot of clients that work that are in the B2B context, that whole invoicing, it's always difficult thing.
yeah,
Or they've done through the whole process of
yeah,
buying, they've got the contracts right, and now the delivery process. And so I think it's really important, where can you deliver and where can you really make that change? It's on the personal side, it's fast, we've got a problem now, we need a call, we need to fix it.
yeah,
I don't think it's always the role of the CX people, because that's often, of course, either account managers or maybe customer service, but we do need to interact. And for example, for me, also this one on the fast one, I'm working with a B2B client now, and one of the things we're going to do is call 50 detractors every month.
yeah,
That is very practical. It's very direct. It's very fast. And you get people together. It has a beginning, it has an end. And yeah, you can get into projects you don't know, but it's just very doable. I think don't plan on 50 to start. Just do 10 a month. I think that is, you don't want to push people away. With this client, it works. But I think that those kinds of little things we underestimate. And the good thing is we get our own hands and feet dirty.
yeah,
People like that. And we are inspiring to others.
yeah.
And we have customer stories.
I love that because whenever you ask people to do that, there's this fear of feedback. Oh my God, I've got to talk to about a customer. They're unhappy with us. It does take some getting over that for people, but the
Oh,
rewards are amazing. Every
yeah,
time I've connected with a detractor, it almost always ends in a more positive relationship, and
yeah,
that's the thing. And I think that's important also to confront things in life. Sometimes if you have something difficult to talk about, the more honest and open you are. Here's me getting all sentimental, but that's what I think it works in B2B as well as in personal life. So
yeah. And you know, Adam, what's the interesting thing is when I take a step back, so thinking about what are we going to do this year, what is really impacting when you look at your strategy.
yeah,
It could be, for example, that voice of the customer is one of the pillars of your strategy.
yeah,
That this is the slow track to think, what are we going to actually do here that needs, what are the big projects? What are the big things? But also, what can we do to truly deliver change? And I think this is where you need that slow process to think about it, but also to think about these elements in all of the pillars of your strategy. What can I do now
yeah,
or this month that really impacts the customer and that I can just do? And everybody that I've worked with always comes up with really small things. And up till now, for example, it's not B2B, but it's B2C. It's a client of mine. She worked at the Rijksmuseum, and she was responsible for CX over there. And what's interesting is that she saw that everybody was busy with art and not with the people that visited it. So what she did is she bought two outfits, one of the guest relations and one of the people that guard. In Dutch it's called supposed. Is it also in English called supposed? I don't know what it's.
no, I'm also thinking the
Guardians,
translation, but the people that stand by the
the
night
people that
watch, the
stand by the
Nachtwacht, and
art.
say you can't
Yeah.
touch it.
So, and she got both outfits. And then she said every other Friday, one time in a month, a morning, I join guest relations. I am with them. I help clients. And the other 2 weeks, I will be with the guys that are standing in the museum. And that way, she got like into conversations with clients. She got into conversations with employees. And what's the fun thing is, is that the director of the museum at that time, Taco Dibbits, I think
Yeah.
he still is, by the way, he was walking through by her office. And he says, what are these outfits doing there? And she told him what she was doing. He says, oh, I also would like to do that. And that how she inspired a leadership project. But you need to lead first. And that's what I also mean with spice up your leadership. What are you really doing
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
talking?
Just before we leave, by the way, that's like CX cosplay, isn't it? I love that
Oh,
the Rijksmuseum are leading in that. But it's one other thing I want to add to this, which is
yeah,
like, because I think before we leave the two speeds, it's just also triggered something else. I like to think of closing the loop as something to do with putting out fires. And
yeah,
the small loop,
yeah,
the fast one is firefighting.
yeah.
And if you think about a firefighter, they're
Yeah,
sexy, they're
fast.
there together, but they're fast, and it's exciting. Everybody wants to be a firefighter.
Yeah,
And yet, if you talk to a firefighter, they'll say they would rather be doing fire prevention, which is a bit boring. It's not sexy. It's making sure that we've got smoke detectors and our houses are safe. It saves more lives. I think you need the balance of both. And I think
it's
that you've got
it's
to have that in your mind.
really and in many organizations, for example, especially in the beginning at KPN, we had so many firefighters. I had a metaphor. I said, oh, if I would had a firefighter's hat here and would have put it on everybody's hat every time. Oh, look, fire, yay! But I think it's a perfect metaphor where the bigger loop is fire prevention. Let's make sure things don't happen
Yeah,
again. It
yeah.
was the second A of my Lara. And reacting, the inner loop, just putting fires out, make sure we call customers back. And yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. Anyway, Blonde Spice. How do we take spicing up your CX program to the board? I want to try and bring it there because I think
yeah,
that's the thing that most CX leaders really struggle with.
yeah.
They've got a great program and yet somehow they miss it, and tell us your best tips for how leaders can do that.
First of all, can you answer the question, why customer experience now? So why is it needed for this company? Can you frame the sense of urgency? And the sense of urgency, why is CX needed? Now. So not next year, not in 2 years. So you need to be able to answer that. And it can come from strategy from the company. It can come from a burning platform
Yeah,
because your NPS is so crappy that I have a B2B client. She measures NPS and she can see that she also asked clients if they are also looking to go for other contracts. So the likelihood to change to a competitor. And she sees that with the detractors, and she could link it to their revenue. So she says, if we continue like this, so much money is at stake.
yeah,
Well, she got a burning platform there.
yeah,
So you need to be able to frame it, and it could be in words, it would be even better in facts. So that I think is one. And the second one, I think you need to have somebody who gives you the assignment in the board.
yeah. You need that. You need that hair
And
cover, don't you? From somebody
yeah,
from the
and
top.
but
Yeah.
if you don't, I spoke with Jean Bliss. I'm a fan of her,
Oh yeah.
and we had her from the CXPA. I'm a member of CXPA and part of the board in the Netherlands. And I think it's very interesting because she said, if you don't have board support, get out. A board, if you don't have board support. Well, I thought it was just like, but I don't really agree because it could be different next year when somebody else steps into the board. Maybe you cannot make it that big if you want. Yes, it's much more nice when you have board support.
Mm.
But I also think we have a problem in CX leaders that we like to convince others that customer centricity is important. And I think we need to, so we push our opinions, our things that needs to be done. But I think we need to do much more pull to get people in. So make people aware why it's a problem. So we have to think about strategies to have other people trip over the truth, as we say it.
Yeah.
So instead of bringing it all, think about methodologies. I had one leader, it was very interesting. He had a big problem that he could not get to the board. And then he had like this 15-minute time slot, and they asked him to send in slides. He said, instead of doing that, can I send you the next 4 weeks, every week, 5 minutes of an MP3 clip with some calls we get about certain problems? And they said, okay, yeah. And so he sent that. So 4 weeks, he just dripped 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They would just sit in the car, listen to it. So he didn't. And then he came in and they were fired up. They were like, what are these calls? Are customers talking to us like this about this? And then he got sense of urgency. So I think we need to be much more creative. How can we have others trip over the truth, especially the board?
I think that's wonderful. I love bringing in the voice of the customer. That
Yeah.
is that narrows the distance between the board and the customer. There's
Yeah.
normally so many layers of noise, and I think your duty as a CX leader should be to cut through that shit and just say,
Cut
this is the
through
voice,
that shit.
and then this is what we do.
Yeah.
So I love that. Oh man, I think that's a really good strategy for doing this. Now, before I let you go, I just want to collect 3 tips from you that you've learned over your career. If you were, for everyone listening here, 3 tips that they can take away, that they can put into their daily routine.
Oh, okay. Wear a blue dress. No, that's a joke. Yeah, it's more personal.
Personal
No, I
branding,
think,
maybe that is important
yeah.
because
Well,
it's
who are you as an authority in your field? So be the authority. And I think I went to I did a couple of courses on Harvard Business School online. That already gives me authority. But what I love in one of their courses, they say authority is made of 3 things: your personal authority, that's your skills, is what you bring with you. You've got your relational authority, so you get authority by the people that you know or that you're connected to. And you get positional authority. It's your titles, it's your books. Do you present at do you go to CX events? Are you CCXP? I don't know. But that external validation, it can really give you an extra internal platform. And especially I know in Europe that we are not that eager for titles or authority things. So I think be the authority and be recognizable as that CX authority. So that would be my tip number 1.
Well, actually, to be honest, I think you've got 3 tips there. I mean, if you're
Okay,
struggling to figure it,
well,
because
perfect.
and I'm just going to play it back to you. Be the authority.
Yeah,
You represent yourself. Your trademark is a blue dress, which I love, by
yeah,
the way.
yeah,
So I got the memo,
yeah.
got my blue
Thank
shirt.
you.
Relational authority and your positional authority.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good way of doing it. And that is how I think you can get to the board. If you just are authentic, you can demonstrate you know what you're talking about and you bring the content. That's how I live my life. And I think
Yeah.
it's a really
And
good
I
tip.
think really important, always stay friends. I think a lot of people in CX see the world in they're against me or what, but they're not. They have different needs and wants at that time. You've not been clear. Never I've been in my career, I had a couple of moments that I thought, are you that stupid? Or am I that smart? And that never helps. Or both. But the thing is, that never helps. If other people don't understand what I'm explaining, it's my role to do
That's
it better.
true.
So don't judge too much and make sure that you really understand how can I bring change here? What do I need to do? What's the problem? What's in it for them? And make sure that you don't let it get to you, because I do think that the burnout rate in CX, and then it's going to be really honest, is pretty high because it's a difficult job. Everybody wants to be customer centric, but when we look into practice, it's not. And how do we bring that change? And we take a lot of things personal, and we should not.
Yeah, I think there is something to do with also being prepared to do a 1,000-kilometer walk. There is something in that. The
Yep,
best people I know,
agree.
they're either marathon runners or they're long distance walkers. These are the people
Yep.
that work really well. Now, Nienke, before I let you go, what are you reading at the moment? What's a good book tip?
It's very interesting. I must say, I have. Oh, I was reading this one. I'm
Harvard Business
I
Review, the
read a couple
7
of business
essential
books, but this one
strategies
was
to...
on it's the March, April HBR. I love snackable content. So I love magazines, maybe more than books. I love fiction, by the way,
And
too.
this is
But
audio content. So just so I can read it
oh,
out,
all right, yeah,
it's
for
the
people that's
whole...
audio, yeah. It's the Harvard Business Review, the 7 essential elements of strategic success. So I was really diving deeper into strategy. And because I'm now working on helping CX leaders build better strategies and build better narratives. So I thought I need to get myself, yeah, I read Harvard Business Review every 2 months when we get it. But
Yeah.
this one I still needed to read, and I thought I reread it. So Harvard Business Review, the edition of March, April.
Good. Thanks a lot. And you've got a book out as well.
Yeah, I've got a Dutch book. It's called the CX Travel Guide. It's written in Dutch, and I've got CX is a pilgrimage. It's snackable content, as I call it. It's 50 short stories, strategies for CX leaders to spice up their leadership. And I'm now working on my CX story blueprint book. So how do you create that strategy, that change strategy? Because I really want CX leaders to do that themselves. It's not difficult, but it's also not simple. So, but I've got step-by-step plan that the book will be out in summer the fall.
Great. Nienke, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Well, it's great content. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. And anybody who's listening, you can follow Nienke Bloem. She's on LinkedIn. She's got a lot of content out there. I really recommend it. Nienke, thanks
Thank
once
you,
again.
Adam.
Hope to speak to you soon. Okay, we'll pause there. How do you feel that went?
I like it went so
It
fast. It's
does go
always
fast.
funny.
You are very fast and a very witty speaker, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah?
And English might not be your first language, but you're very articulate. So
Oké.
ik denk je heel goed Engels praten.
Heel goed. Maar hoe is jouw Nederlands dan?
Heel slecht. Te slecht.
Maar waarom ben je geen lid van... Why aren't you a member of CXPA? Are you?
I don't know. I'm not normally a member of things that have me as a member, as Groucho Marx. I mean, I could do. I suppose. I don't know what I'd bring to it. If you,
I don't know, maybe a
if you would
connection
recommend it,
of
I
a
would.
connection with a lot of CX. I don't know if is your market in the Netherlands or not?
We're mostly global, and
Yeah.
actually, but it's funny. I've been doing. I'll come to that in a second, if that's okay, because I've been interested to
Yeah.
doing some work in the just while we keep recording, if that's
Yeah.
all right, because there might be a couple of other things that we just want to put on while we're doing this. Yeah. Oh, by the way, on Friday I went to the Toppers. I mean, which is really my inburgering. I went with my daughter, and it was, that is really an echte Nederlandse.
Echt crazy Dutch shit.
Yeah, also wonderful. Anyway, let's just do a couple of things. Did we miss anything out? Is there anything we want to do as a do-over? And did you want to ask me a question? So in the same recording, you can snip some stuff out. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
I'm like where I asked you, where you asked me about how did you get into CX. I'm
Yeah.
curious how you, and then I'm also want to ask that question, what is your book, video, whatever that you recommend? Not what you're reading now, but what you want to recommend to watch or read, your one thing.
Okay, that's always a difficult one. I've always got lots.
Yeah, but it could also be a YouTube clip or a podcast or something that you were, or that's now on your mind.
Yeah, it's not about CX though.
What is it about?
It's about Paul and John from the Beatles. That was
Oh,
the most book. That was the book I read that made a big impact on me.
because you're a Beatle fan.
I'm not really, actually.
Oh,
But I am a fan of how people create stuff
okay.
and relationships. So that taught me about something. But I don't know if it's really relevant. Can I? I don't know. What's a really good book to recommend?
Or do you have like a video or a podcast that you like listening to, like leadership podcast or?
Again, I don't to get multiple sources. I don't tend to listen to business stuff that much. But I
Oh.
do read The Economist a lot. So you read the Harvard Business Review. So there's always something in The Economist. Let me just see if I can think about that.
But then you don't have to take too much time, and if you don't like the article, you just go through. That's what I like about Harvard Business Review. I'm like, oh no, not, and then yes.
Oh man, that was a tough one. I'm not normally.
Yeah, it was also end of the day.
I'm actually overthinking it.
Yeah.
While I
Okay,
think
you know what
about
we're gonna
while I
do?
think
I'm just
about
gonna
it.
ask you, and then something's gonna pop up.
All right, go for it.
Okay. All right, Adam. You asked me how did I land into CX? How did that happen? Now I'm curious about you. How did you land up in this world of CX?
That's a good question, and I can answer it very simply. It was when I had to sign off $1 million invoice to Google AdWords, and it was this was when I was working at Sony, so many years ago, and we were spending so much money on customer acquisition. We spent $1 million in a month to get people to the website. But the thing was, the conversion rate was so low, it was costing more to get somebody to the website to sell than the value of the goods we were selling them. But the issue was once we had customers, they were quite loyal, but we were doing nothing to exploit the customers or to go back to them. And we had pretty bad customer service. And that's when I got really interested in actually the Net Promoter Score. And that was in
Okay.
2003. And I've been doing it since then. And after that, I was like, hey, I want to be able to think of a better way of measuring it and acting on it. And that's how CustomerGauge was born, 2007, on a
Cool.
kitchen table. So that was it.
Cool. All right, and now you've asked me what am I reading right now, and I'm asking my listeners something different. I'm asking my listeners, so what is your, for CX leaders that are listening, what is your tip, suggestion to read or watch or listen to that you think, yes, my
Yeah.
dear friends, here I come.
Well, actually, and I didn't plan this, but I do have on my desk Fred Reichhel's book. This is Winning on
Oh,
Purpose.
yes.
And I really like this. And this is the thing I like about this book is Fred is very passionate about effectively customer referrals. And he's right. It's a really underlit part of what we do in CX. We usually think of complaint avoidance or reducing churn. And
Yeah.
hardly anybody ever thinks about the positives, which is like upsells or getting people to refer other customers. And I I know that only 1 in 10 companies has a really good referral system. And I think it's such an underlit thing. And I love talking about that. So that's a good book. Winning on Purpose
Yeah.
and it's an easy read to do that. So I would recommend that.
I love that. And I want to elaborate on that because what I really think is what I also see. There's many CX leaders, and that, what you see too, that were responsible for NPS. So when you are, I think when I look at my education program in my masterclass, one of the things what I always say, if you are the person in your company responsible for NPS, you really need to know the background of NPS, how it went. So you need to read actually all three books from
Yeah,
Fred. So you really understand the score versus the system, and that you're the expert. So coming back to that authority thing, I
yeah,
love that you give this book as a suggestion because I think we need to really dive deeper and be that authority. And yes, then you might need to read a book, but get out of your lazy chair and spice up your customer experience management and your leadership.
I love that. Can I share one other thing with you?
Yes, please.
I survived cancer this year. I had prostate cancer and I had an operation to survive it. So it did kind of like change my life a little bit and make me think more in a more rounded way about what I think is important. I came to the conclusion that relationships in a B2B setting are really important. And this is not so much maybe for B2C companies, but many companies I deal with, they've got $1 million relationships with their customers, multi-million dollar, many people in the decision-making unit. And I don't think enough thought is applied to that human contact. And I love that the idea of helping people build trust in a relationship.
Yeah.
For feedback and going back on feedback is one of those tools. And I just don't think there's enough science or thought. And I think that it's relates very much to like, a romantic relationship. The same idea should be applied to a business relationship. As much care and attention, date nights, compliments, taking
Yeah.
feedback. And so that's been very
Oh,
much on my mind.
well, I have an anecdote. Well, let's just keep on going. My podcasts are a little bit longer than yours, so but I made a keynote in 2016, which I thought was really fun. It was called "Fall in Love with Your Customers,"
That's
and
nice.
I did like the reverse. So it was like I know everybody wants your customers to love you, and actually the only thing you don't want them to love you. They want to open their wallet. So actually, you don't like the customer, but you like their wallets. So, but how are people going to open? Like, think about of relationships. So then I had like this one slide. So what is actually when you look at what's the situation state of your relationship with your customer right now? And I had this Facebook thing like I'm in love, I'm engaged, I'm married, we're divorced, and then there was another one. It's a miracle waiting to happen. Waiting for a miracle to happen. And this, but the thing is, this keynote sold like crap. It didn't sell at all. And because people thought, no, it should be more business and stuff. So I made my keynotes more business. And right now, I'm talking a lot about change, about the feeling that you first need to feel something for a customer. Otherwise, you're not gonna like this client that wants 50 people, that wants to call 50 detractors a month, they find it very hard to get leaders to join them in getting these calls. I said, yeah, because they're afraid of customers. They don't love them at all. They're scared out of their pants.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're scared of what customers. It takes,
and yeah,
you've got to, there's a bridge you have to cross, I think, about this. And
yeah.
maybe loving is too soft a word. Maybe in Dutch, there's a better way of describing it. Vriendelijk or something like that. I don't know. Maybe in English, it's kind of like, love is everything. But
yeah, it's no, but it's like, what is your relationship to your customer? When I use now in my newest keynote that I'm working on, it's going to release next year. I'm working on a model with the head, the heart, and the hands. So I said, the head, you need to know your customer promises. What is NPS? The facts, the figure, your mission statement. It's knowing.
Yeah.
And then it's the heart. What do you feel for your customer? But that's a very difficult one, because are you going to tell that you hate customers, that you don't want to call them, that you're just like, well, no, not my, I think that's customer service. Nobody's going to talk about that. But then we talk about the hands and its action. And the only way that you can influence the heart is by action. We also know that from relationships. I'm married now for 5 years. We're together for 10. We had a little bit of a difficult phase around Christmas. Yeah, we could talk like we want, and I can complain what I want, and I can tell everybody that but the only way that we're going to find our way back together is when we go to the sauna together, when we have a date night together, when we put in action. And that's the same thing with customers. So how do you get the fear away? But that is the catch-22. So to get into the heart, you need to get to action. So
I fully agree. It's all about action.
It's all about action in the end. And when we combine that with love, and I'm a blonde woman, then suddenly it gets really weird.
We're not going to go there. That's for you to publish on your podcast.
I don't mind. People know I'm kind of like honest.
I like it. I think I really
Thank you so much,
appreciate
Adam.
the truth and the transparency.